Have you ever stopped to notice how often the number 12 just shows up? It's kind of this quiet constant, a number that structures our world in ways so fundamental we barely even think about it. So, what's the deal? Is it all just a series of historical accidents, or does the fact that it keeps popping up point to something deeper? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unravel together. I mean, just think about it for a second. It splits up our clocks and our calendars. It organizes how we buy things, our biggest religions, and even our ancient myths. From the Greek gods on Olympus to the jury box in a courtroom, 12 is just everywhere. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to conduct a little investigation in 3 parts. We'll look for clues in the stars, then in pure mathematics, and finally in the weird physics of music. Let's see if they all point to the same answer. All right, first up, our investigation doesn't start here on Earth. It starts up in the heavens. You could say that 12's original authority came directly from the cosmos. The whole story really kicks off with a convenient, almost lucky astronomical coincidence. See, there are about 12.37 cycles of the moon for every 1 cycle of the sun. Now, if you're an early farmer who needs to know when to plant and when to harvest, that's huge. 12 was simply the closest, most practical whole number to sync up the moon and the sun. It became the bedrock of keeping time. And that one celestial observation created this massive domino effect throughout history. The Sumerians built their whole calendar around it. Then the Babylonians took it a step further, giving us the 24-hour day and the zodiac. And this ancient idea was eventually locked in by none other than Julius Caesar, whose calendar reforms gave us the 12-month system we still use today. So because 12 represented a complete cycle of time, a full year, it became this incredibly powerful symbol for cosmic order, for completeness. And naturally, that symbolism got borrowed by religions and governments to make their own systems feel more official, more divinely inspired, from the 12 tribes of Israel all the way to the 12 people on a jury. Okay, on to our second line of evidence. We've seen how we found 12 in the cosmos, but what about the number itself? Is there anything special about it? Well, it turns out 12 has some built-in mathematical superpowers that make it exceptionally useful. Just look at the difference here. It is night and day. Our standard base 10 system, which we probably use because we have 10 fingers, has only 2 useful divisors. But 12? Wow. It can be cleanly split into halves, thirds, quarters, and sixths. That makes it way more flexible for real-world stuff. And this isn't just a fluke. Mathematicians actually have a name for this. It's a highly composite number. All that means is that its usefulness isn't an accident. It's a defined feature that makes it fundamentally better for splitting things up than any smaller number. And here's a perfect example of the problem with our own system. Try to divide something by 3, one of the most common things you do in building or selling things, and you get this messy, ugly, repeating decimal that goes on forever. But if we lived in a base 12 world, that same fraction becomes 0.4. Boom. Clean, simple, finite. So much more efficient if you don't have a calculator in your pocket. So let's just sum up its mathematical resume. It's highly composite. It's built from the smallest, most fundamental prime numbers. And get this, it even shows up in geometry as the kissing number, which is the absolute maximum number of, say, billiard balls you can have touching one central ball in 3D space. It's just a fundamentally elegant number. And for our final piece of evidence, we're diving into the world of music. Now, in music, 12 isn't just convenient. It turns out to be the necessary solution to a deep mathematical puzzle that stumped geniuses for over 2,000 years. So, this story goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, especially the Pythagoreans. They figured out that the most pleasing, beautiful musical sounds correspond to simple, whole number ratios. And the most important one of all is the 3-to-2 ratio. We call it the perfect fifth, and it's basically the atom of Western music. So they had this brilliant idea. Let's build a whole musical scale by just stacking these perfect fifths on top of each other. C goes to G, G goes to D, and so on. In theory, after 12 steps, you should land right back where you started, just a few octaves higher. But you don't. There's a fatal flaw in the system. The circle doesn't close. And here's the raw math behind the problem. 12 of those perfect fifths don't quite equal 7 perfect octaves. The fifths overshoot the target by a tiny but very audible amount. It's called the Pythagorean comma.
You just can't make a power of 3 equal a power of 2. It's a mathematical impossibility.
Now, to make this system usable, that little bit of error had to be shoved somewhere, and it resulted in one hideously out-of-tune interval that made musicians cringe. They gave it this fantastic name, the wolf interval, because it sounded like it was howling. So for centuries, musicians and scientists were stuck with this trade-off. As you can see here, every time they fixed one problem, they created another. The original Pythagorean system had pure fifths, but other notes sounded rough. Another system, just intonation, made chords sound perfect, but you couldn't change keys on the fly. You were basically locked in. It was always a choice between purity and flexibility. The breakthrough, the ultimate solution, wasn't a simple ratio at all. It was this kind of strange, irrational number, the 12th root of 2. By using this number to divide the octave into 12 perfectly equal little steps, the error just vanishes. It gets spread out so thinly that you can't hear it. Every interval is a tiny bit imperfect, but in exchange, every single key is perfectly usable. It's the grand compromise that makes modern music possible.
And what's amazing is that this solution was first worked out with incredible accuracy way back in Ming Dynasty China. It was later championed in Europe by composers like Bach, and eventually, this system, 12-tone equal temperament, became the global standard, completely unlocking the harmonic freedom we take for granted today. And so, here we are. We've got this remarkable convergence from 3 totally different fields. The cosmos gave us 12 to structure our time. Math showed us that 12 is the perfect tool for dividing things up, and music revealed that 12 is the elegant, necessary solution to a 2,000-year-old physics problem. So you see, 12's place in our world isn't an accident. It's a foundational number that's been independently chosen again and again throughout history because of its unique power to create order, practical, symbolic, and even harmonious order. Which really just leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Is 12 a number that we chose? Or is it a fundamental constant of the universe that we just keep discovering over and over again?